What's up, y'all? How you doing? Welcome back to another episode of a Kingdom Community, a community where I engage you to be yourself and know that God loves you, and hoping that you learn to call on God the way I do, the way recognizing that if you want an abundant life or more abundant, talk to God, call on God, seek to know who they are. Um, so, anyways, that's what our show is about. Always, well, I was gonna say, we have the Discord if you want to be an audience member, because this is a talk show at the end of the day. But I'm going to be switching that, I think, making my own page and stuff, and so that'll be switching. You can still join the Discord. But you might want to hold out on that at the moment so that I can make the switch, because I do want to have everything in my power, because websites be liking to apply their own weird rules, and I don't like that, so I gotta start from scratch, and well, basically from scratch, and do my own thing. So yeah, but in any case, the objective is that it is a talk show. So if you want to join in on the conversations live, um, you can. And speaking of which, that brings me to my episode, or to my subject today, which is what I do, and this got brought about because, as you know, if you look on the YouTube channel on my bio, you will see the kind of layout that I have for this lifelong project that I am putting together. And you can, excuse me, someone might. You can feel free to, engage me about it, talk to me about it. Anywhere, on my social medias, or in the Discord. So the Discord or the Discord and the website will be a paid subscription. It's only $5 a month, but that's what helps fund all of these things. But it also allows you to go into conversation. It gives you the opportunity to become a talk show, like a member, an audience member, but it also gives you the opportunity to talk to people. I mean, talk to me and others about the certain subjects of the show, and so that $5 is there to be a deterrent for trolls who like to find it easy and free to just make heinous comments for no reason. So if they want to make heinous comments and pay, they can, because it'll just contribute to the betterment of to the pushing forward of my project. And my show, I kind of went off subject there, but my show, I've noticed that some people kind of look at it and they think that it is a religious show, despite me saying that it's not religious. It is not religious. It is not Christian based. It is not. I grew up Christian, but I have long since kind of gotten out of that because I don't like many of the Christian dogmas, traditions, beliefs, just Christians in general. Couple that with denominational beliefs and traditions and stuff like that. It becomes overwhelming, and I don't like them. So I do not, and neither does this talk show, and anything I do is not to be associated with Christianity by any means, at least not now. And I have no intention of it being so, because Christianity, in my opinion, is just a bunch of people who decided that they were going to do this thing, and they might have started out. It might have started out really well because from what I am understand that Christianity started out as kind of a pejorative uh, name, but then followers of Jesus, Jesus Christ, hence the name. Um, you know, they owned it, sort of thing. And so I think maybe perhaps at the beginning it was great, but now people have gotten so far away from knowing who God is that Christianity resembles humanity and humans' imperfection and sinfulness much more than it resembles who I know God to be. So I stray away from that name or those types of names. I used to be Seventh-day Adventist. I no longer identify as a Seventh-day Adventist. Not to say that all Seventh-day Adventists or all Christians are bad. Just I don't identify with their belief system anymore. I identify with God, just myself. When I was a Christian, when I was an Adventist, I walked with God. Or no, I didn't walk with God. I just wanted to. I wanted to walk with God. I wanted to know who this God was. I was reading all of these crazy, miraculous things. I remember thinking that God hated us. The Father hated us, but Jesus loved us. I remember thinking that very vividly. And since then, God has set about trying to teach me who they really are. And I have welcomed it. And in order to do so, I've had to get rid of the things that I learned from the past. And God specifically told me to do that. But now I recognize the wisdom in that. Now I recognize why it's necessary. It's because those things will cloud your judgment, or at least they clouded mine. But it also, in following God and having my own relationship with God. Now, again, God is not Christian. God is not Adventist. God is not Mormon or anything like that. God is God. Like, these things were, they were formed after their people's beliefs and thoughts of who God was, and now can be misconstrued and used as attacking. Used to attack other people and stuff like that. That's not who I know God to be. God is a very patient, very understanding, very loving being, at least the one that I know. And it's not because God told me this, because there's two things that God told me vocally. I love you just the way that you are. That was the first thing. The second thing was, go sell all that you have and follow me. Those are the only two things that I have heard God vocally say to me. Only two things. And God has, taken the time and opportunity to teach me, to show me what God's love means. And I still have a ton of questions. I still wonder. I still doubt in a lot of things. But if I can judge by what God has already taught me and what God has already done for me, as my eyes have been opened more and more, I recognize, even though I have these questions, even though I have these doubts, God will teach me about them. He will correct them as they need correcting. And it just takes time. That's one of my strongest, biggest weak points, is the time that it takes God to do anything for me. Sometimes it's quick. Sometimes it is quick. But sometimes it's much longer than I would like. And that is something that God has to work on me with. I don't know how, but I don't want to be impatient, but I also don't want to be lax, and I want to have that balance, sort of thing. So again, I digress because that's what I do. But the point of this show is, I was talking to a person that I wanted to be as a guest on the show, and he seems very sweet. He's his name is, I think it's Rich Herring, if I'm not messing this up, and he is a adult. How do you call this? I don't want to say porn actor. He has his own OnlyFans, and he the thing he loves. A lot of people do OnlyFans. I've learned because it's for them. It's a job, and you will hear them say that. Oh, it's a job, and this is why, for the most part, I don't subscribe to anybody's OnlyFans. I have subscribed to a total of 2 people's OnlyFans, and I did not benefit from anything that they made, um, because I didn't technically like their content. I did it because they were in a rough situation in their life, and this is what they were using to kind of get out of that. And so I supported them both for, I think, a span of 3 months. And then I stopped, and I've never been back to their page. But this guy, Rich Herring, I think his name is way. Actually, I can tell you, because this is important for me, and this is what this episode is about. Yeah, Rich Herring. You can find him on X, Twitter. You can find him on that, and you can find him on Blue Sky, and you can also find him on OnlyFans. I'm not subscribed to his OnlyFans because, my situation. I'm not at the moment able to subscribe to anything that is beyond that is much beyond, needs. And one day, but I like him because, well, one, he will talk to you outside of OnlyFans. So that's already a huge plus for me. And another thing is that he loves what he's doing. He loves what he's doing, and he's very passionate about it. And he was afraid to take that step to just plunge into it, but he did. And I just love the way, he does it. It's clear he likes what he's doing. And these are the things that make other people passionate about your passion, or passionate about what you're producing. And so that's what so I wanted to have him on the show. He was very kind, but he told me that he wanted to kind of stay neutral. And that just made me realize again that, yeah, people do see my content because God is always associated with Christianity or religion, and I am absolutely not religious. I'm not. People have taken to calling me more spiritual, perhaps. Yeah, because God is a spirit. Well, according to the Bible, God is a spirit. I can't see God. I've never been able to, but I do believe, I have a strong belief that God does exist, and I have a number of, evidences, which can be reproduced, right? So I can't reproduce them, but God can. And yeah, but they absolutely can be reproduced. And so I'm believing, that God is there. But I still question sometimes here and there, because I'm just like, I'm not really sure, question my sanity, because so many people going crazy and stuff like that. Like, I question just a lot of things. I just want to make sure that I'm not, screwing myself over or anything like that, or screwing anybody else over or whatever. So, and these things take time, unfortunately, but fortunately, because I told God also, if we're going to do this, my roots have to be strong, deep in you, and then from that grows the trunk and the branches. And even though I hate the waiting part about it, I do have this hope of something glorious coming out of it. I have the dream that God gave me and everything else, right? And so I wanted to do this episode to really help you all understand this is not a religious show. This is not a Christian show. This is not any denominational show. This show is about the kingdom of heaven. This show is about how humans were created to live in harmony with each other, and to work with each other, and to prosper, with each other, with God. And being with God allows you to be yourself. It allows you to like the things that you like, and it allows you to pursue the things that you want to pursue. So, as I said on the YouTube, you will see in the bio my it kind of lays out how the structure of my business will go. The one thing I didn't put on there, which I didn't even consider at the time when I was making that, which I now have adjusted, but now I have to adjust everything. So I didn't fully adjust it, but I did adjust it, um, to so that you all understand, like, there's a part of it that's going to help kind of fuel the rest of the project, and that is one of the things that initially I had up on Patreon. Now, I started my Patreon, I don't know how many years ago, to be honest. I just started and opened it up. Maybe it was just about 2 years ago, and I opened it, but I didn't really think anything would come of it. I just opened it up, and it's about erotic hypnosis, and I specialize it in BDSM and kink. For any of you all who don't know, I have been into BDSM and kink since I was a kid, and I did not know it. Okay, now there's people that I've spoken to who have felt the same way, and I've come to realize that, yeah, okay, so I'm not the only one, like this. But I remember being in elementary school, and playing, with the boys, and we used to play like prison, and so the guys will run around and chase the girls and put them in prison, like on the gate, and I wanted to be the one being chased by the guys and be put in prison. Like, that's what I wanted to happen. I didn't know why, and it surely wasn't anything sexual at the time. It was just I wanted that, you know, um, and it just kept it just kept growing as I got older. It just was there the entire time, um, and it hasn't proven to be anything sinister. It's just something that I like. And I remember watching Star Wars, and I was talking to a guy on the he had on Twitter. He had done I think they're called spaces or whatever, and so I connected, and that was like one of the only times I ever connected to a space. I think I've done it all of like 2 or 3 times, and his was one of those times. And he was asking people, when did they know they liked kink? And I remember that it was really with the Star Wars, and the thing that really got me was, I remember watching it, and two things. There was one where Princess Leia was in like these chains, with Jabba the Hutt. And I remember just thinking, man, that should be a guy. Like, man, that should be like Luke, or, whatever. Um, Luke, or what's his name? Han Solo. I was thinking it should be one of those two, but then Han Solo got put in what was that? The petricide or whatever, where he ended up losing his vision for a little bit, where he was just, and I thought that was so hot. That was my favorite part of the entire series, but yeah, I just always loved it. I remember the first time I ejaculated was trying to torture myself with I was like, I don't know, like maybe 13, 14, maybe 15. I can't remember how old I was. I was really young. And I was trying to torture myself with toothpaste. I was trying to torture my nuts because I didn't have any hair at the time. And I was trying to, like, because it would sting a little bit, and that was the point. It was stinging. So I would try to torture my nutsack by spreading toothpaste on them. And I remember my mom asking me, "Why do you smell like mint?" And I tried to force myself to go to sleep like that, which I did. I did go to sleep like that. And I just thought it was just so hot. Like, but and that was around the first time where I actually ever ejaculated, and I didn't know what it was when it did. So I freaked out, when it happened. I freaked out. I was like, oh my God. I was freaky. It was freaky because I didn't know. No one had taught me anything. Whatever. Anyways, so very heavily into BDSM and kink, and all things that kind of revolve. Well, not all things, but a lot of things that kind of revolve around that. I just like it. I've always loved it, and so I did my Patreon. Is that it's erotic hypnosis and BDSM and kink. I also write these very extreme BDSM and kink stories that I posted on nifty.org. If you know what that is, you know. If you know, you know. I've also posted on I just different other websites. I had a Wattpage. I even posted it on Patreon, but then they took it down because they were like too extreme or something like that, which is why I'm not promoting my Patreon, because they closed my account because they said it was too extreme and that I had to take some things down. And I was like, I'm done dealing with your guys' stupid, erroneous rules. So I mean, like, erratic rules. So I'm going to create my own webpage, which I wanted to do. And a guy had told me that I should on one of these hypnosis forums that I'm on. And I was like, yeah, the thing with me is that I have to wait for the motivation to come. And I can't force it to come. It just comes when it wants to, but I keep it in my mind and I'm like, I want this, whatever. And then the time comes, like something will happen and it'll trigger that. And I'll just like, bam, do it. That's what I do. So I just wait, I just wait with it. I just flow with it. And so I'm going to create my own webpage. But yeah, that's what it's about. It's about kink, BDSM, and it's a erotic hypnosis. Obviously, it's heavily focused around queer communities, but there are a lot of I also write short film scripts, which which I'm going to start recording, and I will put those up on my webpage when I create my webpage. But I just love these things, and I always was frustrated that there were so few films, so few. It was a lot more about torturing women and not a lot about torturing men. And when it was torturing men, there was no kind of like visual aspect, sort of thing. And I didn't like that. I wanted to see it, right? And so I wanted to create it, and that's what I do. When I see something I want and no one seems to be wanting to work on it, I'll do it. So that's what I'm doing. I've always liked film. Bringing something to life that wasn't a book, for example, or something like that. I just always loved that idea. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm a very ambitious person. It's a good thing that I have ADHD because it takes me from one thing to another and then, does this cycle, this, that, and then comes back around because it'll stay in my head. It'll be like, I want to do this, but I just no longer have the motivation for that. I had the motivation to do something else and I just follow it. And sometimes I don't have the motivation to do anything. Sometimes there's just this time where I'm just, and I gotta maybe play some video games or something to keep my mind occupied while my imagination is resting or, recuperating or something. I don't really know how it works. I just know what happens as it's working. So I really wanted to bring this up because I wanted to let you all know the stuff that I'm doing, the Kingdom community and stuff like that, it is to support people who see that there is a problem and know that there is a solution, which is in God. And it's not like God will do the entire thing because we have a job to do as well, right? Never forget that. That's something I had to learn because I didn't know. No one was able to adequately explain that to me. There is things that we do, but the work that God does compared to the work that we do is vastly unequal. Like, from my own experience, like God is doing like 90% of the work because God is the one that has to talk to these people. God is the one that tells us or puts us into situations where it is the most favorable for us to talk to these people or do this thing or something like that. God is doing all of it. Sometimes we don't even recognize it until it's right in front of our faces. Sometimes we try to do something that at a time that we shouldn't be doing it. And God's got to stop us or allow it to happen, and then fix it later, or fix it, set it up so that it works later or whatever. God is doing all of the orchestrating if it is something that we want, if we desire it. But we still do have a thing to do, So if there's something that you want and you're telling God you want it, keep your eyes open for it, because there's probably going to come a time where, if it's truly something that you desire, where you can jump on it and do it. And then that's what you got to do, and God will bless your actions. If you're desiring to take God with you, if you recognize that people are constantly taking actions, but nothing is getting better or slightly better and then a ton worse, because they're not doing it with God. They're not asking God. They're doing it on their own, and it's just dry, and it's going to shrivel up into nothingness, because that's what humans do. It's where everything that we do ends up being corrupt. Everything that we do ends up being corrupt. No matter what kind of, socio-political regime that we go under, it always ends up corrupt, because humans are corrupt, right? And you got to open your eyes to recognize that that is the case. But God can do the things, So if there is a socioeconomic, thing that you want to implement, it's fine. It'll work. I guarantee you, it can work, and it can work to where everyone has been benefited and happy. But you got to have God in it, because God knows the people. God knows how things will need to work. You're going to mess up, okay, but God will cause it to work in your favor, because only God can do that. Only God can make this like a perfect world. We'll do our part, but God will be doing his part, and it will be a huge part, and you just got to recognize that. And if you have a hard time with that, tell God, I feel like you're doing too much. God will teach you. God is not going to be like, well, then fine, do it yourself. That's human. That's how humans act. God doesn't act like that. God understands why we feel like we want to do more or something like that. God understands all. I'm just telling you from my own experience, right? I've never been taught this. I know this because I have had to yell at God, and not had to, but I have. I've yelled at God, and I've screamed at God, and I've cursed God out, and I've, thanked God immensely, and I've cried because I'm like, God, I don't know how this world is going to make it, because they refuse. They refuse to acknowledge that they can't do it. Decades of, millennia of wars and killing each other, always trying to find the perfect thing, and we're never succeeding, because because you're not in it. They don't know you. They don't know to ask you. They don't know to believe you, and that starts from a little tiny seed, and it grows, um, they don't know that you are like the missing key, even though you've been here the entire time. And but even so, sometimes I have doubts, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know. God, I need you to help me to understand, So yeah, I wanted to let you all know this is part of what is going into the kingdom community. The kingdom community, it is not about people trying to reject who they are, even because society rejects them. No, you come literally the person that you are. You bring that to the table. You might not share that immediately, because, maybe you need to warm up to it. Like, I've had to warm up to it, and there's probably things I'm not admitting to you all now that I'll probably admit to you all in the future, because it's a growing process and stuff like that. That is perfectly fine. But if you come in and just like, yeah, I love kink, and you know, I love porn, or I love people with like long hair, or I just love sex, or I don't know. I don't know. I'm limited to the things that I like. So I can't really think of anybody else's, thing. But if you're just coming in, then you're just like, this is the thing. If it's not, destructive to somebody else, then it's great, um, accept it, own it, And yeah, you move on. It's not about you trying to be this person that you think is supposed to be perfect. God will do that, if that needs to be done. It's not about you being perfect, right? It's about you acknowledging who you are and letting God love you and show you and cradle you in who you are, you know, despite the fact that you might have some more flaws, because one of my biggest flaws is that I get angry at people because humans get on my nerves. No, I don't want to see them destroyed, but sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm like, God, just start over. I can't. I can't. I can't. I can't. And for no reason, they act stupid for no reason, including myself. So I just start over. And sometimes I just feel like that, but most of the time, thanks to God's Spirit, I am quite sure, because, we are wicked. Because sometimes, most of the time, I'm just like, no, God, you have to have pity on us, mercy on us, please. We don't know. We don't know God. We've come so far away from God. So, yeah, no, the kingdom community is not religious. You come liking the things that you like. If you are a porn actor and you enjoy it, you are more than welcome to come be a guest on the show. If you are an actor, um, like a Hollywood actor, but you feel ashamed to kind of indulge in some of the things that you like to, like if you like sex workers, like if you like having sex with sex workers and you're afraid to. I mean, if you're not afraid of, and that brings me to, one of my points is like being yourself is dangerous in a world full of conformity. This world is all about trying to conform people. So especially actors, um, actors feel like they can't enjoy the things that they want to enjoy, because people will kind of turn against their movies and stuff like that. I have it a little bit easier because no one knows me. You know, Whatever. And then the people that do know me, who really know me, they know who I am. They're like, yeah, that's neat. But I'm protected by God, much like everyone who calls on God is protected by God. And when you're protected and known by God, it doesn't mean you don't go through hard troubles, or it doesn't mean you don't have to deal with craziness. But as you deal with them and God is working with you, the less you really stress about them, they still annoy you. They still get on your nerves. And I'm speaking from experience, but they stress you a little bit less and less each time, because you're just like, you start to understand. You understand humans, they can't get out their own way, um, you know, including yourself. So you're just like, you just like, have mercy, please. Like literally, just please have mercy, because um, I, you know, whatever. And you could just, sometimes you'll say something to the person. Sometimes you just roll your eyes and just keep moving. Sometimes you just, whatever it is. Um, More and more, I found myself praying for the person, but obviously, if the person doesn't want healing, or if they don't want to know God, well, that is their heart's choice, and there's nothing that I'm going to be doing to change that. I don't want to force somebody to be something they don't want to be. That's not fun. If they want to be this way, if they want to be stank, if they want to, judge other people and try to make other people conform, that's their life. But I don't have to, and God will protect you. Um, and if it is that you are to, suffer and maybe even die at the hands of God, I think God will tell you if you ask. God will tell you, or, in the Bible, Jesus said, pray that these things don't happen to you. So you just stay in communication with God, because God will communicate with you, and God will let you know, this will be your demise, but don't worry, and just by God telling you don't worry doesn't prevent you from worrying. God will then give you peace. Like if you read the Bible and you find out about like Stephen, who was stoned to death, right? He didn't want to be stoned, obviously, but like he was like looking up into heaven. It was like his face was like an angel. Like only God can do things like that, you know? Like, yeah, okay, you destroyed the body, which is what Jesus said. Don't be afraid of humans who can destroy the body, but that's it. Yeah, they destroyed the body, but God can destroy the body and the soul. And then he brings the body back. And then what? Like, no, not that. No one wants to go through that pain. No one wants to die. And it seems as if you ask God, you know, fervently for, to have your body preserved, you can. John apparently didn't. He didn't. He wasn't brutally massacred with the other, disciples. There was one who I think was Philip or somebody who was flayed alive, and I was like, God, that's a lot. I don't know if he didn't ask for that because I know Peter asked to be hung upside down. So I think it really just depends on who you are and your, relationship with God. But just don't stop, talking to God, and God will let you know. And if it's too much for you, you tell God, God, that's too much for me. Don't try to be all He-Man, superhero. No, tell God, I don't. It's too much. And if he needs you to go through it like he did with Jesus, he'll give you the strength to go through it. And you will have that peace, just like Jesus did. It is what happens when you have a communication with God and you go through it. This allows you to be the person you want to be, who you are, without being afraid, because humans will persecute you. They will come after you, especially if you're saying God loves you and look at you like sex with multiple different partners, sort of thing. They will be like, no, you can't love God and do this, that's a sin or whatever. They love to put up rules and regulations and stuff. Like, they love that stuff because they feel like this is, they're afraid, right? And you will see that when these people are acting like that, they're acting like that in fear, and that is not, the Bible says, Paul, I think it was Paul, says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love and of something and of a sound mind. When people are operating in fear, you know full well that that is not God. God does not operate in fear. That doesn't mean that you won't be afraid, but you will learn as you walk with God that you can turn that fear to God, and you'd be like, God, I'm freaked out right now. And then God will be like, okay. And then he will give you peace or whatever it is that he needs to. I don't know. I'm not in his wheelhouse, so I don't really know. But I know when I told God I wanted to stop being afraid, God showed me how to stop being afraid. Little by little. There's still things that freak me out. Other things that used to freak me out do not anymore, because I'm just like, God will handle it, or God will show me what I need to do at the time, and I'll pray. I'll pray about it. It's not like I ignore it. I just pray about it. I'll ask God, what do I do? Or I got to do this, but I just really don't want to. And then, the desire to come do it, or I'll just happen to do it without really actually paying attention. Then it's all done. Then I'm not, then it's not even a thing, sort of thing. So there's just a plethora of different ways that God can handle it, but God will handle it, you know. So this allows you to be yourself. This allows you to say, I love these types of things, It also allows you to say you like something, and you might feel like, for example, snuff. I don't know if any of you all know that. You don't probably really want to die, but the concept of that can be apparently a turn on. Does not turn me on. Not that I can think of. Um, and you're like, well, good, but I love this, and I don't know. I don't want to die. So like, there's like this dichotomy. God knows how to do that. God knows how. I don't know how. I just know He knows, because He knows everything. They they have knowledge that far surpasses human knowledge. So like, listen, tell God, don't run away from God. Run to God and be like, okay, so this is what I like, and I don't know what to do with it, sort of thing. But it allows you, again, it allows you to feel safe being who you are. So you don't have to live within the confines of conformity that humans are, have established. People do that because they do not know God. When they put up these rules and conformity, because they do not know God. They do not know what God is capable of. They have boxed God in. They have said that God can't do this and God will not do that. God can and will do whatever he so freaking pleases. He created this world. So don't tell me what God can and cannot do, just handle your own business, So let me look at my notes here. I have basically, let's see. I did. Oh yeah, I did talk about that. Let's see. Oh wow, yeah, man. I went through the whole thing. It really flowed. Flowed. I digressed quite a bit, but it really flowed this episode. Because it's really my passion. You know, I will continue doing the things that I enjoy doing, the BDSM, the kink, and everything. And I want to have a lot of guests on here who are into that or other, things, so that that you can recognize that, this is people from all walks of life. That's what I said in one of my earlier videos. This is people from all walks of life who can and will be welcomed if they desire under the wings of Jesus. I was just reading the other day, probably yesterday, where Jesus was like bemoaning Jerusalem. He was like, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you killed the prophets and stoned the ones that I sent to you," which I'm like, stop sending them. Again, I'm human. I'm not God, and you all should be thankful for that. So, but he's like, how often I would have gathered you under my wings as a chick does her brood, but you would not, But for those of us, who are on the highways and byways, the ones who are cast out, the ones who refuse to conform to, Christianity and to Christian notions about who God is and stuff like that, about what they think God is. But we know that there is a God. We just have never experienced them. Like, God will welcome you with open arms. He wants to see you thrive and to succeed. You'll have to learn how to wait on God, because that's necessary, because all things work perfectly when you wait on God. It's a learning process, so don't freak out when you're running ahead and then God has to slow you down, and work it out for you, because that's what a father does, right? Like, okay, you messed this up. I told you to wait, or you didn't have the green light, whatever. But he will have taught you how to learn, and then you will have learned, and then it'll come back around, and you will remember, nope, we're not doing that again. That's how you learn. That's what happens. So knowing God and understanding God is one of my biggest passions. And I believe knowing God is necessary for creating a world where everyone can live in peace, harmony, but also in like industry and innovation, because we seem to think that, well, you can't be, or like people tend to think that you can't, with God, you got to be eating twigs and leaves and stuff like that. Our innovation comes from God, so just imagine how much more abundant that would be if we learned to depend on God, to trust in God, and to, while we're doing these things, it would just be so much better, so much more just, successful. That's how it would be. So yeah, I just wanted to talk to you all about this, about my, well, it's not my Patreon, so it will be my website. But about my kink and BDSM, and my fetishes, and my erotic hypnosis, which and they do um, bring in a little bit of money, and so it will contribute to going to building up the kingdom community. If you're hearing this and you're freaking out and you're like, "Oh my God, God did not ordain this," or something like that, ask God about it. I was actually going to say, feel free to just not join, which is true. But I think probably it's better if you just ask God about it and see what God says, see where God leads you. This talk show, I'll say it one more time, is not Christian. It's not for Christians. It's not Christian. It is not religious. I've invited Christian and religious people to, join and support. But if you feel like your beliefs are contrary to the things that I am sharing because of my walk, my own personal walk with God, um, yeah, then it's not for you. That's it. It's just, then it's not for you. Or you just need to go ask God. The things that I do, I do having asked God, having talked to God, having shared with God, still learning over the course of time. So obviously everything is not going to be perfect, but it'll always work out for my good, and for the good of other people who like sharing that, who want to know, who want to live, to improve their life, to live a better life, to not live in this world where they are always at constant fear of something, someone breaking in, someone not getting the promotion that they want, or someone. This is just for people who want to live and be happy, living with God, recognizing that God is not a dictator, recognizing that God is not impatient with them, God is not laughing at them. I do think God laughs. I've never heard it, but I think because I love laughing. And so if I love laughing, I'm sure God loves to laugh. So, I've wanted to experience that. That's something I really want to experience, is God's humor, because I always feel like it's always so very serious. Anyways, whatever. I digress. But I did this really for Rich Herring. I'm going to, post well, for me, for the talk show, but also I want to thank him personally, because and this is not meant to be any pressure for him to come on, but I'm thankful for the conversation that we had, because he, one, responded to me, and two, shared with me like the fears that he had about, well, I guess the reservations that he had with coming on the talk show, because he wanted to remain neutral, and I'm like, I'm trying to get across to everybody, this is as neutral as it gets. This is very, very neutral. But I also know that people who are into kink and stuff like that, it's not like a what do you call that? It's not mutually exclusive that you're into kink and want to have a relationship with God. The two can combine, and usually do. So that's why. So I really wanted to thank Rich Herring. Go check out his sites. I don't know if I'll actually put the links. I'll ask him if he wants me to link him in my posts and stuff like that. He might not want to, because again, he wants to remain neutral, which I'll definitely respect. But yeah, yeah. So in any case, just learn to be yourself. It's safer if you do it with God, and learn to enjoy life, and seek after God, and see what God has in store for you. All right. Well, this is where I would also remind you to sign up for the Discord, but hold off on that until I get the website up, and then we will start again. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this opened your understanding to who I have learned God to be in my own personal relationship. I'd love hearing what other people have experienced in their own relationship. So, yeah. Anyways, I will talk to you later. Ciao.